Well, good morning. Class number 260. I call it Let Go and Follow Me. Let go and follow me. In all of Jesus' teachings, for me right now, the strongest message that he ever shared was this one: take no thought for your life. And he went on and talked about consider the lilies, and he talked about the birds. He said that the lilies, they don't toil and they don't spin. God clothed them, and Solomon wasn't clothed like this. And he even said in all of his splendor, he wasn't clothed as the lilies, because the lilies were clothed by grace. And then he said the birds, they don't gather in the barns, they don't store up anything, and they eat every day. God feeds them. And he thinks of us as, oh, ye of little faith. Why the rebuke right after all of that? Oh, ye of little faith. Aren't you worth more than birds, and aren't you worth more than flowers? And it got me to thinking. So you can take no thought, quit having any kind of concern for your life at all, and God will take care of it, because God has taken care of it. So to me, that's a powerful truth that has to meld into the consciousness, because if you look around, there's always something to be concerned about. There's always something to think about. How am I going to? That's how it starts. I need to. That's another way. How is this going to come together? I don't have. I can't seem to. All those things just, where do I go next? All those things just start popping in the head, because the door is standing open for that kind of stuff. And the only way to close that door is to take no thought, which means I'm going to have to let go of all of that thinking. But I haven't been trained to let go of all of that thinking. And it's like, so how do I do this? Jesus went on to say, no one has really ever given up everything, houses, land, mothers, fathers. He's talking about nobody gave up depending on that did not receive in this life 100-fold. But then he added, with persecutions. So why would a person be persecuted for giving up, worrying and concern and trying to make things happen in their life? And it was because this person would look irresponsible. And of course, people give a whole lot of thought to other people's opinions of them. That's just the lay of the land. That's this world. So the minute you start acting like they'll say you act like you don't care, which is the truth, because he says, cast all your care on him, for he cares for you. So then you're left with this question. And here's the finale, the grand finale. You're left with this. Okay, so I'm gonna give up everything, because now I'm gonna get these things, and I'm gonna be able to do all these wonderful things and what have you. So, yeah, but am I giving up so that I can get fishes and loaves, trinkets and baubles and monies and all this kind of fame. Am I just, okay, so I'm going to quit trying so I can get all this stuff. It's like, no, the only thing you're trying to get is that life. I had to ask myself this question, do I really want that life? Because that life, if I get the life, then everything else is in there. It's like Santa Claus's bag. Everything's in the bag that everybody ever wanted. But if I don't get Santa Claus, I don't get the bag. If I get God, I get everything in God's bag. Yeah, but you already have everything that's in the bag once you realize I have God. So that question is easily answered if the heart is fixed and trusting in the Lord. I found that in Psalms 112. So I decided, well, let's take a look at a few people who gave up stuff and see, what the result was. And the first person who popped in my head was Noah. That's a very spiritual example because Noah had to give up the world that he lived in. But what he was really giving up was the storm. When you think about it, I'm going to have to leave everything, and I have no idea once the storm comes and wipes out everything, what would there be left? Where am I going? I'm going to sit on water for 40 days and 40 nights, so however long it was. I think I'm just going to ride in an ark. What ark? Oh, yeah. How am I supposed to, how do I build an ark? And I only have my kids and their wives. I never built the ark before. I wasn't a carpenter. Okay, so I'm going to let go and look at the persecutions. Scorn. What are you doing? I mean, you will be treated like a leper. But he gave up the world as he knew it, and he came out into a whole new consciousness. He was not trying to get fishes and loaves. He was trying to follow the Spirit of God that was leading him. And we move along and we find Moses. Here's a guy that had no idea that he was a Jewish kid. He grew up in Pharaoh's house. Egypt, the most powerful country in the world at that time. And then one day he had to give it all up. He gave up all of that, not to mention the fact that he was going to be a pharaoh. And yet, he gave all that up to go out into a wilderness and be there all of that time, the desert, the wilderness, just letting go of everything that he could have had. That really hit me in a powerful way. Michael, you're going to have to give up everything that you could have been. The fame, the fortune, all of that you were trying to do with your music and all that. But I've led you out into a wilderness, into a desert. Nobody is drawn to what you're doing. I mean, you're out there to the point where you tried to do my will, you tried to do my ministry, and you tried to be a pastor of a church. You tried all that stuff, And at some particular point, at the end of it, you were sitting there feeling like David, my God, why have you forsaken me? But in reality, I was really saying, my God, for this reason was I kept. For this reason was I spared. Spared what? That which would happen as a result of you attaining all of that stuff you were trying to do. Once you gave it up and said, I'm going to let all this go. I'm going to follow God. Not so I can get all of these other things, because I already have those things, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. So, again, Moses gave up everything, and he ended up leading millions of his brothers and sisters out of bondage and taking them out to where they could at least prepare, because they ended up spending the same amount of time that he did, and he did it twice. They spent all that time, and half of them, I guess the ones who were above 20 years old or what have you, that gave an evil report, they died in the wilderness. Can you imagine families giving up families to stay with Moses and then have Joshua lead them on in? He had to let all that go. You got to let it all go. I remember Solomon saying, I don't know how to go out, and I don't know how to come in. He could have laid back and said, I'm the king, and I can do what I want. I can run this country the way I want to. But what he said was, I'm a child. I don't know how to do this. I never will forget one time when Ahmad was really little. And I said, Ahmad, why in the world? And I put something real heavy on him. And I asked all these questions. And he said, I don't know, Grandpa. I'm a kid. That's very powerful. I don't know how to do this. That means I'm giving up. I don't know how to do what? How to walk by the spirit of faith. How to know that I am the truth. I don't know how to do any of that. Jesus, in and of myself, I can't do anything. But the Father within, he doeth the work. I mean, think about it. The woman with the issue of blood. I've been going to doctors all of this time. I'm going to give up on that. I'm just going to go, if I could just touch this guy's clothes. Where would she get that idea from? The Father working within her. And the Roman centurion, now think about what he had to let go of in order to go to Jesus. He's a captain in the Roman army. Now the most powerful country. He's working for Caesar. And he's got to put himself in that position to go to a Jewish guy and say, if you just speak the word. I'm a man under authority. But I know good well I can't make any of this happen. But I know that if I come to you, if I ask you to speak, it's done. Well, what do you think the people in this military thought? What do you think the people thought that were Romans? Man, you must be crazy. How many times that you're putting on TV, you watch it all the time, you're putting your career at risk to go and do what's right. Wow. Jesus gave up the opportunity to become one of the rabbis, one of the Pharisees, one of the big-time people in Israel. He gave all that up to go out and follow the Word of God, to follow the Spirit of God, to let that lead him. And he says, in and of myself, I can't do any of this. But the Father within. He gave up his acceptance amongst the Jews in order to do the will of God. He gave up all of that. He gave up the Jewish way of living and being accepted so that he could know God. It just comes to mind that the thing that you're really losing is the condition. You're giving up all of the conditions that your so-called life is predicated on. You're giving up all of the conditions. You know, think about what somebody would say if you have a child or a spouse or somebody that's sick and you go, I ain't going to take no thought about this. So how in the world can you do that? Well, it's God that does it. Because you're going to be persecuted. I ain't going out here and go to doctors and constantly, and I'm not going to go out here and try to get me a job so that I can have the kind of life that I want to have. Somebody's going to say, you're just lazy. You just want to live off somebody else. Again, with persecutions. But the moment that attitude is in your heart, immediately the grace starts flowing and a job comes to you. Because you're saying, I'm just going to trust in the Lord. My heart is fixed. I'm not doing this so that I can get jobs. I'm not doing this so that I can get money. I'm not doing this so that I can be famous. I'm not doing any of that. What I'm doing is quietly listening. And, of course, I'm being secretive about it because the moment I start telling people what I'm doing, I'm going to be persecuted. I'm going to draw that fire. So it's going to require faith. And that faith is going to be the thing that brings me through. Be followers of them who through faith and patience inherit promises. For by grace are you saved, delivered, through faith. So I thought right here we should just take another stroll down faith land and just see where it's taking us. So we break down the definition of faith all over again. We've done this before, but, you know, sometimes we get caught up in the minutia of practical life, and we forget that we live by faith and not by sight. It's so easy to quote that. We live by faith and not by sight. In him we live, in him we move, in him we have our being. That's something nice to say. But when that attitude is the crux, the foundation of what we're living off of, then we start to not look for things. We just start looking at the Spirit of God, the consciousness of the truth. Now, in the Aramaic of the Peshitta, which is we call it the Lamb's Bible, he expands on the definition of faith in his interpretation. In the King James and the stuff that comes from the Greek, and then in these New Living Bibles, as Carolyn said, without the these and the thous and all of this, it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. But I want you to listen at what Dr. Lamsa said. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. Then he goes on to say, as it was the substance of things which have come to pass. And it is the evidence of things not seen. It, faith, was the substance of the things which are now in existence in your life. I mean, there are a lot of things in your life that came and you didn't even know they were coming. They just popped in. Why? Because you weren't taking any thought about having them. Some things have come into my life that I didn't even know I was going to need. And they came because God, the substance of all forms, through his grace, was bringing those things into my lifestyle that were going to be necessary for me to move forward in doing his will. So that means that this invisible substance is the evidence of that which I can't see. Now, this invisible substance is really the mind of Christ. This enlightened mind has within it every idea which has been given. See, when we say all things are yours, we say no, the substance of all things are yours. And as you accept that substance and realize, yeah, this is all, I have all of this, because this is everything in Santa Claus's bag, in God's bag, it forms as those things that are necessary. Just think about everything out here that you see. Because it was the testimony concerning the elders, those who have come before us, those who have given up everything in order to walk by the Spirit, everything that was necessary for them to do that walking, that substance came into some kind of a form. Now, here's the power hitter right here. Here's the home run hit. For verse 3, it is through faith we understand. Now, that is a big word, because substance is understanding. So you have been given the understanding of how to do this. It's already there. We understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen came to be from those which are not seen. You have the understanding that that which you're looking at came from an invisible substance, the mind of Christ, the ideas, all of that translated itself in your life as form or forms. Things that we see are not made out of what we see. They're not made out of what we call a material substance. In other words, the wooden table is not made out of the tree. The clothes that you wear are not made out of material. They're made out of an ideal substance, an understanding, that which stands under everything that you see. You can take away that which you see, but you cannot take away the substance. In verse 4, he says, it was by faith that Abel offered a more excellent sacrifice to God than Cain. And because of this, he received the testimony that he was righteous. And God testified to his offering. Now check this out. God testified to his offering. Keep remembering now, we are here to bear witness to the truth. So God is testifying to our righteousness because we are offering things by an invisible substance, mind, understanding. We're making a sacrifice. Dr. Joseph Murphy broke down the word sacrifice. It means to make whole. We are making whole every time we give substance. When we give the substance of taking no thought, the substance of giving up, letting go, and following me. Just let go and follow me. Wow. Now let's look at verse 6. Without faith, man cannot please God. For he who comes near to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who seek him. I don't have to give any thought to the reward, because if I please God by understanding that it is the substance, that which God is, the understanding. If I understand how something works, I don't have to concern myself with it working. That to me is so powerful. I can just wait and understand. I already have an understanding. And because I already have this understanding, I don't have to concern myself with the reward. I understand how it works. Well, how does it work? It works like this. I understand that the substance of everything that I see is God. God is doing the building. Except the Lord build a house, they labor in vain that build it. Again, back to that powerful thought that Jesus had. Take no thought. God has already built our house, and we are moving in it. The problem is we have a terrible, terrible fear of we don't know what we're doing. Well, let me abuse you of that thought. In and of ourselves, we don't know what we're doing. We have no idea. Remember the voice that Jesus said, come on and go with me. And I said, man, we don't know where you're going. Well, I don't either. Jesus could have said, based on his realization that in and of himself he can do nothing, but he has a trust that God is his inner being and leading him into a consciousness which we call the promised land. You see, when you give up the personal sense of yourself for the impersonal, you realize this is not going to make you popular. It's actually going to make you scorned. You're going to look peculiar. People are going to say, walk on water since you're so great. I tell you what you do. Turn rocks into bread. I tell you what. Physician, heal yourself. Come off the cross. You healed all these other folk. And Jesus is sitting there saying, I really didn't heal anybody. God took care of it. I understood that. I understood that if I totally trust, if I love the Lord my God with all my heart, with all my mind, with all my strength, with all my soul, that means I don't love the things. I am allowing the Father to come forth as form because I understand there is no other way. All things are yours. It says, give up. Look at Luke 6:38. Give, and it will be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom. You mean if I give up trying, then everything will just flow into my life because I'm not looking for people to give or to do anything. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to make this very personal right now. I was so hurt, so disgusted that so many would not come to my aid or say, I'm going to help you. How can I help? Or what can I do? I know what you're going through right now. I see the situation. you know, you're doing the best that you can with the health challenge that your wife is going through. And it dawned on me one day, you need to let that go. Let go of the condition. Let those conditions go. Give up the condition of sickness and disease. Give up the condition that people appear to not care, even people in her own family. People in her own family don't seem to give a hoot. And it dawns on you. Just give that up. That which is to be has already been. And that which has been is right now. What is to be? Wholeness. Sacrifice. Give it up. Don't concern yourself with any of this. Just go through every day what you're doing. Keep doing it to the best of your ability, but know that God is right there. Actually, in your caregiving, what you're doing is you're taking care of God. You're taking care of God. You're giving God your allegiance, your prayer, your hope, your love, your patience. You're bearing fruit. And it has to show up because you're not looking for it to show up. But if you keep peeping over your shoulder to see if somebody's going to come to your aid or if somebody's going to try to help or somebody's going to, is she getting any better? Does it look any better? Just think about it. How would you feel if you had people calling every day going, so how's everything? How is she? How's this? How's that? You wouldn't know what to say. So the best thing to do is to be secretive, be quiet, don't say anything, be very appreciative of those who have come to your aid, who have assisted, who have said, oh, wow, I just thought about you. I tell you what, I'm going to come by and drop off something. I've had a few friends do that kind of thing. And the whole point is I realized that was God saying, little by little, you will see the salvation of the Lord. You don't have to fight in this battle. The battle is not yours, but the Lord's. All things are already yours. And if you give, you will receive. Giving up is asking. Giving up is asking. Asking for what? Grace. It's asking for grace. Holding on with a burning desire to what you want, it'll keep it from just coming into your outer life. That's why it's so dangerous to just keep affirming and affirming and affirming, making statements and all that. Just be quiet. Because that means that you are taking thought. Remember Paul? He besought the Lord, please remove this thorn. Remove this thorn. And God said, my grace is sufficient. In other words, give up asking me to remove this thorn, and the thorn will go away. Give up. Let go. Let all else go and follow me. The disciples gave up. They just let go. They didn't know what they were doing. But we're going to follow him. And they started following. And they ended up on a mountain with a man who's got over more than 5,000 people up there. And they need to eat because they're 3 days' journey out. They all followed him out there. And what did he say? Looked at the disciples and said, you feed them. How? But he already had the understanding that he had the substance of everything that they needed to eat. And he looked at the little boy, and he took his fish and his bread and broke it and gave thanks. He looked to heaven. God, this is on you. That's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking to heaven with regard to my wife, and I'm saying, this is on you. I'm a child. I don't know how to go in. I don't know how to come out. I don't know how to do any of that. But this is on you. And I know that if I quit thinking about how to do this, I'll see that it's done. You see, you come to the point that you realize I have the idea, the substance of what it is that I desire. So what else is it that I need? If I have the substance and if I have everything that things are made out of, what is it? Where am I lacking? You have need of patience, Hebrews 10. You don't know who else God is working with regard to your demonstration. You got to remember, it's God who's doing the demonstrating. Your job is you're bearing witness to the truth. But I just got through saying God is the one who is going to testify to your righteousness. There is a knowing in you that you are doing right when you are giving up and letting go and following me and taking no thought. God is testifying to this. The truth. What truth? Who you are. I am the truth. I am the truth with my fulfilled desire. And the things get added. That's where I think we forget. Things get added. Signs follow. We have to remember and always know. Now watch this. I read this from Walter Lanyon, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It says, remember, you cannot remember something that has not already happened. Isn't that amazing? Everything that you remember in your life is something that had already happened. You don't remember things that have not happened. So you're not trying to get things, because if you are, it means you don't believe that you have them, even though you have the substance. And we know that God said this, all things are yours. So if you take your mind off getting the things and keep your mind focused on, I have the substance, so there's no need to think about the thing will follow. The thing will appear. It has to. If it's necessary, if it's needed, it has to appear because you have the substance of it. That which is to be has already been. And that which has been is now. The past is the present. So if I give up trying to demonstrate by remembering God is the demonstration and has already demonstrated, the things get added. I look at it like the mind is the faith. It is the understanding. It's where the ideas are. And it is a mirror. And that word is an image. Things that are seen are not made of things that appear. They are made of the Word. But in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word became flesh and dwelt among them. The Word becomes flesh in every area that is necessary because the kingdom of God is a finished kingdom. It is complete. It is done. No, Father, you have not forsaken me. What you've done is you have kept me from that treadmill of trying, begging, beseeching, what the world calls praying, the world of churches. They call it praying. But in reality, it's preying. It's praying upon God, not praying to God. Praying to God is listening. Praying upon God is trying to get God to do something that you feel that you need him to do that he has not done. You have to give up trying to demonstrate by remembering that God is the demonstration. And God has already demonstrated. Well, what has he demonstrated? Substance. What is substance? Understanding. Where do I understand? In the mind, the only mind, the mind of Christ. Let this mind be in you. Let it be there. It's there. Just let it be there. Leave it alone. It has done its job. When we start approaching things like they're already done, then we realize the answer always precedes the problem. And we think that the resolution is a demonstration, but no, God is the demonstration. The resolution is the added thing. We have 4. You ever notice that that 2 times 2 or 2 plus 2 or 3 plus 1 or 5 minus 1, all of those are added things of how you got to 4. But 4 started out. So when Jesus says, go out and preach my word, you've already done it. The process is the added thing. But the principle is you've already done it. You already have. All things are yours. You are the demonstration. God demonstrates you. I am the truth. And when I remember I am, I bear witness to the truth. I let go and I follow. I'm not following a process. I'm not following a resolution. I'm following what I am, and the resolution gets added. As a final statement, this is one of the statements that I made earlier, and I'm going to say it again. As long as you have a burning desire for something, you're thinking about it. And thinking about that something keeps it from coming forth. When you stop thinking about it, you start the flow. You're opening out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. As I see it, one of the most powerful statements Jesus ever made was, take no thought. Stop thinking about what appears to be missing in your life and realize the substance of everything is already there. So let go. Let go of thinking about how this is going to happen. Let go of thinking about how am I going to, where is this going to come from? Because that's anxious thought. That's worry. Thou is able to keep at perfect peace whose mind is stayed on the substance, the God, truth, I am. Except the Lord build the house. Who is the Lord? Substance. Who is the Lord? Understanding. And once I understand, it is a tree of life. Give up. Let go. Follow me. Who is me? The truth, substance, the I am. Take no thought. And watch how easily, through God's grace, the things that appear to be necessary, that appear to be missing, show up. Remember, those things that you see are not made out of what they appear to be. They are made out of the substance. God fills all space. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to preach the gospel. Let go. Give up. Take no thought. and the grace of God bears witness and testifies to your righteousness. Amen. And so it is.